Hey, we're back in Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts with our British 1910 campaign, and we are into January 1911. I'm doing a couple things here now that we're into this newer year. Looking at the fleet composition, the biggest weakness of the German Navy is in her capital ships, both in numbers and in their characteristics and how they stack up against our battleships, and also our one battlecruiser. Looking at the numbers of ships and the tonnage disparity, which is approximate, I didn't add up the tonnage of every single ship, and we also don't know the range on all of these German ship classes. But I'm thinking we got to be pretty close to having the double power projection needed to impose a blockade on Germany. And to kind of push us over that threshold, we've already got the shipbuilding program that started at the beginning of the campaign, and we're up to, we've got 6 more light cruisers, still building now, 12 armored cruisers building, the 2 battle cruisers, and I've also added 2 of those modified battleship designs. I think they're called the Irresistible. 2 Irresistibles building as well. Yes. And these were the modification showed at the end of the last episode, where we've given them heavy shells, because it turns out they're actually more accurate, not less accurate. And also dropped a couple of the larger secondary guns in order to give the ship more stability. Other than that, it's the same Mars class that we saw in the Battle of Sunderland, which was actually the HMS Howe, which is still repairing. The other thing that I'm doing is sort by type here. I have put these British battleships into sea control mode, and the intent there is to try to generate some battles in which we get a matchup of our battleships against either their battleship or their battlecruiser, and whittle down the tonnage disparity from that end as well. So not 10. Howe is still repairing. She's still back. So there are 9 battleships in sea control, and we'll see if we can make that happen. Now, we did have a battle, which I did fight, and which I did not post in January. We came up with a 1v1. I think it was down here in the Bay of Biscay, down in this area. And it was one of our armored cruisers against one of their armored cruisers. And I did not post it for a couple of reasons. First, back in episode 3, we had an extremely similar battle. And we found out in that battle that our armored cruisers don't stack up that well because of the disparity in their main guns, and in the fact that the German armored cruiser is torpedo armed, whereas the British armored cruiser is not. And this battle that I just fought was almost identical to that one, with the German having enough of an edge to make the outcome pretty much inevitable. However, not enough of an edge to do it quickly. The battle went on forever, to the point of both ships ran out of main battery ammo. We had no 8-inch shells left. The Rune, it was our Undaunted versus the German cruiser Rune, and the Rune was out of 9-inch shells. I had been knocked down to about 25% structure, and the Rune was I guess about 50%. But I was on 10% flotation, and Rune had not taken any flooding at all. Clearly, the German cruiser had won, and there wasn't anything that I was going to do to change that. And then time expired. But the battle did not end because the ships were so close together that the battle kept going. And at that point, I did not know how long that battle would go because the ships are like peppering each other with low caliber secondaries at this point. It didn't look like Rune was anywhere near close to actually sinking the Undaunted, and there was certainly no way that I was going to do much more, if any, damage in return. So I just exited the battle, essentially auto-resolving it. I didn't think it was worth watching. It wasn't too compelling to play that battle, and I'm sure even less to watch, especially since we had such a similar battle earlier in this series. To the point where I think from now on, if we get a 1 versus 1 armored cruiser battle of that class, now if one of our new cruisers gets it, yeah, that'll be something new to see and learn about how well we did with that design. But if one of these terrible class, the appropriately named terrible class armored cruisers goes up against one of those, I think I'm just going to auto-resolve it from now on. It turns out that Undaunted was not sunk, came out of that battle with heavy damage. She's only 22%. So I guess that's about what my structure was coming out of that. And she's going to be out of action for 5 months, costing over 500K per month. So that's about a little over 2.5 million, about 2.6 million. It's going to cost to repair the Undaunted. Meanwhile, our new class of armored cruiser, the intent was for them to replace those terrible class one by one as they come out. The first of those is going to come online in 8 months. 8 months, 5 months, 2.5 million. It's only a 3-month gap. I think I'm just going to go ahead and scrap Undaunted now. So that's kind of a catch-up and a summary of what occurred off-camera, if you will. Wasn't planned to be off-camera, but I came out of that battle thinking, I'm not posting that. Also happened this month, it wasn't really... the Germans did lay down some more of their Bussard-class light cruisers. And I noticed that I think last month the cruiser count was they had 9 light cruisers to R2, and now they're at 10. So scrolled off the bottom of here, I think they must have completed a new light cruiser that has entered their fleet. Didn't see the message, but that's what the numbers would indicate. Hopefully we can get ourselves a battleship battle here in the near future. Let's go to February and see what happens. There's a battle here, and it is indeed a battleship duel. Well, that's what we were aiming for. We saw in the Battle of Sunderland, which was not 1v1, but it was a larger battle. But there was a battleship on each side, and that battle pretty clearly showed that our 14-inch guns will eventually prevail over the Germans' 10-inch guns, even though they are much lower accuracy. Well, because of that low accuracy, even at at 10,000 meters, the base chance to hit is 0.6. It doesn't get too much better even at shorter distances until you get 5 kilometers or less. We open the spot at 4 point at less than 5 kilometers, probably because of lousy conditions. Yeah, it's nighttime, so that's why we had a short distance spot. And that actually, even though we've got the bigger guns, that probably plays well to our strengths there. It's the Hanover class, and this is actually I think the prefix is SMS Hanover. 16 knots versus our 27. So we're pretty much going to dictate the conditions of this fight. It should not be a runaway. And basically, at this range, we're just going to let these 14-inch guns hammer away. We're going to take some damage. We're close range. So these 10-inch guns, which have a 100% chance to hit, are going to make themselves felt. But I believe these 14-inch guns will out-damage, even with the lower accuracy. Speaking of which, slow down a little bit. Give ourselves a little bit more accuracy. I may have been a little bit too cavalier. We've actually lost 8 turrets. No, 1. Yeah, this is an 8-inch gun. I'm going to turn just because no, I thought that 10-inch gun was out, or 14-inch gun was out. Midships, it is not. 17% chance to pin red on the main belt. The German battleships are pretty well armored, as we saw. Back to 18. Flooding back here. Left steering. Side is out now. For that reason, turn it around. Bring the port side 14-inch midship turret there. almost done. 5 or 6%, 6% structure. Dreadnought is certainly not unscathed. About half structure herself. Those 10-inch guns are not impotent against our arms scheme. Especially at this range. The next 14-inch hit, anyway. Not a lot of finesse there, just kind of stealed right up and just traded shots. I probably took Dreadnought probably took more damage than was really necessary there. And even at the closer ranges we were at, 41% main gun accuracy compared to 30% for Hanover. Huh. I kind of expected that accuracy bit to be more in their favor. In any case, one less German battleship. And the German Empire is ready for peace. Not going to do that quite yet. I'm going to see if we can impose a blockade here, which may happen on the very next turn with the Hanover done. Yeah, we've got 16,000 victory points, having sunk in this campaign 3 of their capital ships, 2 battleships and a battlecruiser. And I think early on we did, sometime last year, in 1910, we did lose a light cruiser at some point. We have 4 light cruisers. I think that means that I hadn't noticed, but I think that means backwards. Yeah, 2 more of the Nottingham class have entered the fleet, the Latona and the Attentive, currently sitting at Portsmouth. And we shall move them up to, I think there's space and hull for them. All right, let's move on to March 1911. The war continues, and indeed, we have now reached a point where we are blockading the German Empire. Notice we do not have double the tonnage, overall raw tonnage in fleet composition. We would need over 900k tons for that to be the case. But we do have a little bit more than double the power projection. So this power projection is not based just on tonnage. Range is also a factor. And one of our battleships is being attacked by a destroyer squadron. I believe she will be able to handle that, but that is going to have to wait until the next episode.